Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going deep on something really incredible, the impact of AI on scientific discovery.
Yeah, it's really cutting edge research, and I think it's going to change how we all think about the future of
Oh,
science.
absolutely. And maybe even like the future of work itself.
Yeah, certainly.
So to set the stage for today's deep dive,
Mm,
we're looking at research from MIT about a real-world experiment
mm.
at a major U.S. company where they gave like over 1,000 of their materials R&D scientists
Right.
this brand new AI tool.
Yeah, and we're specifically talking about materials science R&D here.
Right.
So that's the process of actually discovering and developing new materials for pretty much everything, like
Yeah.
healthcare electronics.
Like
It's a
everything.
very long and complex pipeline.
So before we even get to the AI part of it, can you walk us through what that process, what that pipeline even looks like?
Yeah, so it's
Like,
so we
what are these scientists actually doing day to day?
they're trying to create materials with specific properties. So that could be anything from strength, flexibility, conductivity, whatever
Mhm.
you can think of. And it starts with brainstorming potential structures for these materials.
Okay.
Then it moves into a ton of testing experimentation.
Yeah.
And if they're lucky enough to discover something truly novel,
Yeah.
then they'll file for a patent. And eventually, if everything goes well, those materials could end up in products we use every day.
Right, exactly. So it's like,
Right.
it sounds like a long and arduous process.
Yeah, very time consuming.
Yeah.
Often relies on a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
It can take years, even decades, to develop something that meets all the criteria.
So enter AI,
Yeah.
ready to shake things up.
Right.
What's so special about the AI tool that they gave to all these scientists?
Well, it's built on something called graph neural networks.
Okay.
But the cool part is the approach, and it's called inverse design.
Oh, inverse design.
Right.
I am intrigued.
Yeah.
What is that?
So traditionally, scientists would experiment with different structures for the materials and then test the properties.
Right.
But inverse design, they flip the script.
Oh,
They actually tell the AI the properties they want,
wow.
and the AI suggests the structures.
Okay, so it's almost like
Mhm.
it's like their super powered brainstorming partner.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can sift through possibilities and pinpoint the most promising options.
Okay, but it gets even better
Yeah.
because it doesn't just rely on what we already know.
Right.
It can generate totally novel material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so structures that have never been seen
Hold
before.
on.
Yeah.
How is that even possible?
It uses this technique called diffusion-based modeling,
Oh,
which is pretty complex, but essentially it starts with a known structure. It adds some noise to it,
Uh-huh.
and then reverses the process to generate this new compound.
So it's kind of like taking a recipe you already have
Yep.
and then just adding a few
Yeah,
unexpected ingredients and ending up with something totally different.
exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And it's important to note, too,
Yeah.
that the AI tool went through a lot of training.
Okay.
So it learned from a massive database of materials.
Uh-huh.
It was constantly refined based on experiments that the scientists were doing.
So it wasn't just like
Right.
spitting out random ideas.
Exactly, yeah. It was really learning and adapting over time.
All right, so drum roll, please.
Yeah.
What happened when they gave this to like 1,000 scientists?
Well, the scientists using the AI discovered 44% more new materials
Wow.
than their colleagues who weren't using the AI.
That's huge.
It's significant, yeah.
But were these new materials just like
Yeah.
tiny little tweaks?
That's the key question, right? Or
Yeah.
was this like genuinely groundbreaking stuff?
Yeah, were they discovering things that we've never seen before?
Well, the researchers actually dug deep to assess this.
Okay.
So first they looked at the actual structures of the new materials, and they found that the AI-generated materials were significantly more different from existing compounds.
Wow. So it wasn't just spitting out like variations on a theme. It was really charting new territory
Right.
in the world of material science.
Exactly.
Okay, wow. And then what else?
So then they actually used something called the Kalyani 2024 measure to analyze the patents that were filed by the scientists.
Okay, the Kalyani, what?
So it's essentially a way to measure the creativity of a patent by looking at the language used.
Okay.
And the patents filed by the AI-assisted scientists, they were more likely to introduce entirely new technical terms.
So they were literally like inventing new concepts and
Yeah.
terms to describe these never-before-seen materials.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's pretty incredible.
What about the scientists themselves, though?
Yeah.
How did they adapt to working with this AI?
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
AI didn't replace the scientists, but it definitely changed their roles. So a lot of that initial idea generation was taken over by the AI.
Okay.
which freed up the scientists to really focus on evaluation.
So they became the judges,
Right.
the curators of the AI's creativity.
Exactly. They suddenly found themselves spending a lot more time assessing the suggestions from the AI, trying to figure out which ones are worth pursuing.
And were all the scientists, like, equally good at this new role?
Not necessarily.
What separated the masters from the rest?
You guessed it, domain knowledge.
Oh, so their human expertise was still, like,
Yeah.
so valuable.
Exactly.
Ah.
The scientists who really thrived were the ones who had deep expertise in their materials.
So it wasn't like the AI made that irrelevant.
Right.
It actually made it more valuable.
Exactly. They could look at what the AI was suggesting and say, is this structurally sound? Is it stable?
Yeah.
Does it have a chance of actually working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the AI was the brilliant apprentice,
Yeah.
but still needed that master craftsperson there
Right.
to really guide it. But let's be honest, not all change is, like,
Of course not.
welcomed with open arms.
Right.
How did the scientists feel about this new way of working?
That's where things get a little bit complicated.
Oh.
Because while the AI did boost productivity
Yeah.
and it led to these remarkable discoveries, it also had a downside.
Really? I'm sensing a plot twist here.
Well, a lot of the scientists, even those who were successfully working with the AI,
Yeah.
they reported a drop in job satisfaction.
Even the ones who are, like, doing well?
Even the ones who were doing well. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and we'll dig more into that in part 2.
Right.
But essentially, a lot of scientists felt underutilized,
Yeah.
less creative, and even worried about getting credit for their work.
I can see how that would be frustrating for
Yeah.
people who've dedicated their lives to scientific discovery.
Right.
It seems like this AI tool is making us rethink not just how we do science, but what it even means to be a scientist.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about so much more than just efficiency. It's about the human side of innovation
Absolutely.
and how we navigate this new era of human-machine collaboration.
Okay, we're going to need a minute to process all this.
Yeah.
Let's come back for part 2, where we unpack the implications of all of this
Sounds good.
for the future of work and creativity and scientific discovery itself.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to our deep dive into AI and scientific discovery.
Yeah.
Right before the break, we were talking about how AI tools are changing, like, the very nature of scientific work.
Yeah, huh?
And it seems like there's this bit of a paradox.
Yeah, there is.
On the one hand, it's enabling all these breakthroughs and speeding up the pace of discovery.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's raising some questions
Definitely.
about the human experience of doing science.
Right.
We were starting to talk about that drop in job satisfaction
Yeah.
among scientists who are working with AI, even those who are good at it,
Uh-huh.
which seems kind of counterintuitive
Yeah.
because if they're being more productive and making these groundbreaking discoveries,
Right.
shouldn't they be happier?
Well, it's not that simple.
Okay.
Remember we talked about how there's that shift from idea generation to evaluation?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out that even though evaluation is crucial,
Yeah.
it's not always as creatively fulfilling as coming up with those initial ideas.
So even though they're still really important,
Right.
some scientists feel like their expertise is being underutilized.
Exactly. Yeah, and the survey responses from the study were really interesting.
Oh, tell me more about that.
A lot of the scientists expressed feelings of being sidelined,
Oh, well.
like their unique skills and their training weren't being used.
It's like they've been promoted to management, but they miss that hands-on work
That's a great analogy.
of being in the lab and making the discoveries themselves.
Yeah, and it highlights a challenge we need to address.
Uh-huh.
As AI becomes more integrated,
Yeah.
it's not just about training people to work with AI,
Right.
but ensuring that they feel valued
Yeah.
and intellectually stimulated alongside AI.
So how do we solve for that?
Well, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And there's no easy answer.
Right.
But this research points to a few things.
Okay.
First, we need to rethink how we educate and train scientists.
So going beyond the technical skills
Yeah.
and focusing on critical thinking evaluation.
Exactly. We need scientists who can challenge AI, question its assumptions,
Well-
identify its blind spots.
So it's more about collaboration,
Yeah.
not just between humans and AI,
Yeah.
but also between different types of expertise.
Exactly right. You need those domain experts who understand the field,
Right.
but you also need people who can bridge that gap between AI
Yeah.
and human understanding.
We also need to think about how we actually integrate AI into the research process.
Definitely.
So instead of just automating tasks,
Yeah.
focus on creating systems that augment human capabilities.
Right. Make them more powerful.
Yeah.
Allow them to leverage their expertise in new ways.
So instead of replacing the scientist,
Right.
AI tools should enhance their abilities and allow them to take on these even more challenging questions.
That's the goal.
This study also raises some really important questions about how we measure success
Yeah.
in an AI-driven world.
That's a big one.
Because if AI is contributing to these discoveries,
Uh-huh.
how do we make sure that human scientists are getting credit?
Right. It's about moving beyond those traditional metrics like publications, patents,
Yeah.
and finding new ways to assess the value of human expertise.
This brings us to a bigger point,
Yeah.
which is that this research in materials science
Yeah.
might be just a preview
Right.
of what's to come in other fields.
Yeah.
I mean, if AI can transform scientific discovery, where else could we see this?
Well, the possibilities are really endless. I mean, drug discovery, genomics, climate modeling.
So AI could be helping us to develop new medicines, understand the human genome,
Right.
even combat climate change.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is all pretty exciting.
It is.
But are there any potential downsides,
Of course.
risks we should be thinking about?
One of the biggest concerns is bias in AI. Right. If the algorithms are trained on biased data, they could perpetuate or even amplify existing inequalities.
It's like garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. We need to be really careful about the data
Yeah.
and make sure that fairness is baked in from the start.
We also can't become over-reliant on AI.
Right.
These are tools.
Yeah.
They can provide insights, but they shouldn't replace our judgment. It's all about balance.
Yeah. Finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
between AI and human intelligence.
So this research gives us a glimpse
Yeah.
into the future of work,
Uh-huh.
where AI is becoming more and more prevalent.
Right.
It highlights the potential,
Yeah.
but also the need to address those human factors
Definitely.
to make sure that this is a positive future
Absolutely.
for science and for scientists.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, you've given us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
We've talked about the potential,
Yeah.
the challenges, and the human impact.
Right.
And this is really just the beginning of the conversation. Definitely, this is an evolving landscape.
All right, let's take another quick pause.
Okay.
And when we come back,
Yeah.
we'll wrap things up
Sounds good.
and leave you with a final question to ponder. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into AI and scientific discovery.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. And, as we wrap up, I want to go back to this idea of how important human expertise still is.
Yeah, it's a key takeaway, for sure.
Because we hear so much about how AI is going to make human knowledge obsolete.
Right, like it's the end of the expert.
Yeah, but this research is saying the opposite.
Yeah, it really is.
It's almost like AI needs us
In a way, it does.
to make sense of it all.
It still needs that guiding hand.
Yeah.
Remember those scientists, the ones who thrived as AI evaluators?
Yeah, those are ones who are really good at it.
They were the ones who could spot the real
The
breakthroughs.
gems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was their deep knowledge, their experience that made them so good.
So it's not enough for AI to just churn through all this data.
It needs that human touch
It needs that intuition, that deep understanding
to really guide it.
to separate the signal from the noise, you could say.
It's like AI is this powerful engine,
Yeah, I like that.
but it needs a skilled driver.
To steer it in the right direction?
Otherwise, it just ends up going in circles.
Yeah, or crashing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not about humans versus machines.
Yep.
It's humans with machines.
Work together.
Yeah, to solve these really complex problems.
That's the future.
And this isn't just for science.
Right? This applies to so many fields.
Medicine, engineering, even art.
As AI gets more advanced, it's going to change everything.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen how it's changing materials science.
Right. Faster discoveries, more innovation.
What other fields do you think are ready for this AI revolution?
Oh, well, drug discovery is already happening.
Yeah.
Algorithms are finding new drug candidates so much faster.
And genomics.
Oh, yeah. AI is unlocking the secrets of DNA.
And climate modeling.
Using AI to predict and fight climate change.
Wow. The possibilities really are endless.
They are. It's an exciting time.
But of course, there's some risks too.
Yeah, we have to be careful.
Like we talked about bias in algorithms.
Right. We have to make sure AI is fair.
And we can't just blindly trust AI.
We need to keep human oversight
So it's all about finding that balance.
between the power of AI
Yeah.
and our human values.
Well, that's a great place to wrap up our deep dive.
It has been a fascinating conversation.
We've explored so much today.
From the technical details to the big picture questions.
And before we go, I want to leave you with a final question.
Oh, I love a good cliffhanger.
If AI can change scientific discovery,
Yeah.
what about other creative fields?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Could AI transform art, music, literature?
Could it help us design better cities, explore the universe even?
The possibilities are truly mind-blowing.
They really are.
So keep those brains buzzing.